Next question is your company plans to deploy several million sensors that will upload data to Azure. You need to identify which Azure resources must be created to support the planned solution. Which two Azure resources should you identify? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Option A, Azure Data Lake. Option B, Azure Queue Storage. Option C, Azure File Storage. Option D, Azure IoT Hub. Option E, Azure Notification Hubs. Correct answer is option A and option D, Azure Data Lake and Azure Notification Hubs. Azure IoT Hub. Next question is you have an Azure Wave app. You need to manage the settings of the Wave app from an iPhone. What are two Azure management tools that you can use? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Option A, Azure CLI. Option B, the Azure portal. Option C, Azure Cloud Shell. Option D, Windows PowerShell. Option E, Azure Storage Explorer. Correct answer is option B and option C, the Azure portal and Azure Cloud Shell. Next question is, this question requires that you evaluate the underlined text to determine if it is correct. You have an application that is comprised of an Azure Wave app that has a service level agreement SLA of 99.95% and an Azure SQL database that has an SLA of 99.99%. The composite SLA of the application is the product of both SLAs, which equals 99.94%. Instructions: review the underlined text. If it makes the statement correct, select no change is needed. If the statement is incorrect, select the answer choice that makes the statement correct. Options are option A, no change is needed. Option B, the lowest SLA associated to the application, which is 99.95%. Option C, the highest SLA associated to the application, which is 99.99%. Option D, the difference between the two SLAs, which is 0.05%. Correct answer is option A, no change is needed. Next question is, your company plans to deploy an artificial intelligence AI solution in Azure. What should the company use to build, test, and deploy predictive analytics solutions? Option A, Azure Logic Apps. Option B, Azure Machine Learning Studio. Option C, Azure Batch. Option D, Azure Cosmos DB. Correct answer is option B, Azure Machine Learning Studio. Next question is, this question requires that you evaluate the underlined text to determine if it is correct. Data that is stored in the archive access tier of an Azure storage account can be accessed at any time by using azcopy.exe. Instructions: review the underlined text. If it makes the statement correct, select no change is needed. If the statement is incorrect, select the answer choice that makes the statement correct. Option A, no change is needed. Option B, can only be read by using Azure Backup. Option C, must be restored before the data can be accessed. Option D, must be rehydrated before the data can be accessed. Correct answer is option A, no change is needed. Next question is, this question requires that you evaluate the underlined text to determine if it is correct. Azure policies provide a common platform for deploying objects to a cloud infrastructure and for implementing consistency across the Azure environment. Instructions: review the underlined text. If it makes the statement correct, select no change is needed. Option A, no change is needed. Option B, resource groups provide. Option C, Azure Resource Manager template provides. Option D, management groups provide. Correct answer is option C, Azure Resource Manager templates provides. Next question is, an Azure administrator plans to run a PowerShell script that creates Azure resources. You need to recommend which computer configuration to use to run the script. Solution: run the script from a computer that runs Windows 10 and has the Azure PowerShell module installed. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Correct answer is option A, yes. Next question is, which service provides serverless computing in Azure? Option A, Azure Virtual Machines. Option B, Azure Functions. Option C, Azure Storage Account. Option D, Azure Container Instances. Correct answer is option B, Azure Functions. Next question is, your company has several business units. Each business unit requires 20 different Azure resources for daily operation. All the business units require the same type of Azure resources. You need to recommend a solution to automate the creation of the Azure resources. What should you include in the recommendations? Option A, Azure Resource Management Templates. Option B, Virtual Machine Scale Sets. Option C, the Azure API Management Service. Option D, Management Groups. Correct answer is option A, Azure Resources Manager Templates. Next question is, which Azure service should you use to correlate events from multiple resources into a centralized repository? Option A, Azure Events Hub. Option B, Azure Analysis Service. Option C, Azure Monitor. Option D, Azure Stream Analytics. Correct answer is option A, Azure Events Hubs. Next question is, this question is a part of a series of a question present the same scenario. The question is, you have an Azure environment, you need to create a new Azure virtual machine from a tablet that runs the Android operating system. Solution, you use PowerShell in Azure Cloud Shell. Does this meet the goal? Options are option A, yes, option B, no. Correct answer is option A, yes.